Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW. We have a very special guest for you tonight, the one and only Leaf Montgomery. Welcome.
It is I, Leaf Montgomery, of the Plant-Based Prophets, representing the mycelium and the one true Mother Earth of Rad Pro Wrestling. How are you doing?
I'm doing good today. I have to say, speaking of Mother Earth, she's been very kind. It was a beautiful weather day, out about, not too hot, nice breeze. Gotta love it. Gotta love the nature.
Mother is good all the time, and all the time, Mother is good.
Not in the winter up here. Not in the winter. She's not so nice.
Let's just say she works in mysterious ways at times.
Well, that's what's been told. So, got a big show coming up, Rad Pro, and every show's a big show at Rad Pro, but, we're into the second year now, and it's really starting to really grow, into something bigger and bigger. It seems almost like every show, the storylines have really developed, and it's getting in there, and, you're in there now as the Plant-Based Prophets, and I have to say, I'm a big tag team fan. I like tag team wrestling, something that grabbed me. Young. We had, Demolition and Hot Foundation, all these tag teams out there that really, like I said, captivated. So when I get to the indie scene, I look for that. I look for tag teams and real tag teams, not just two superstars thrown together, but, some people that go together and it makes sense. And they come out with matching gear and it's, similar song or together even. That would be really nice when they come out together. But, you guys do that. You brought it back to, again, the 90s. But what do you feel of that tag division right now in Rad Pro?
Our tag team division at Rad Pro Wrestling is the strongest, if nothing else, because it plays host to the Plant-Based Prophets. The aforementioned yours truly, Leaf Montgomery, the ever-blossoming, the ever-blooming Blossom Oak, not to mention the fearsome, the ferocious, the at times fabulous, the Fern, who I have teamed with most recently in order to defeat the Fantastic Voyage. Yes, indeed. It is a competitive division. Historically, it has been very competitive in only our first year of existence. We've got the Fantastic Voyage. We had the Ringers, the Dead Ringers, right?
The dead ringers now, but yes. Now they're double dead.
Yeah.
But
we've had a few breakups or a few teams drift apart here and there, but perhaps more on that in a minute.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like I said, I was at the last show. And I saw that tag team. I saw Fantastic Boys. They came out, they had the fans. I have to say, not everybody in Rad Pro as a fan, I think, is a true believer yet. They're not. You have a lot of non-believers out there of that, of your lifestyle and the tenants and everything. Me personally, I'm actually, well, right now I'm in between, but for a long time I was an Engine 2 vegan, which it's an Engine 2 diet and it's a vegan diet and it's only. It's basically, it's a plant-based diet, and it doesn't use any meat, eggs, any dairy, anything that has a mother. You don't eat it. And I did that for many, many years. And then I went back and added the dairy in. But, my mom stuck with that. And my whole family is just about, 2/3 of us are vegan in the family. When you guys came out in the Plant-Based Prophets, my son was in the audience. That was his first wrestling show. And I have to say, he was like, I can't wait to go home and show my Nana him because she's going to love him. He's vegan.
That is quite excellent that we are resonating with at least some of the Rad Pro Wrestling audience. It is safe to say that with the conviction we possess, that with the discipline we exhibit, and with the, at times, sternness we come across with, we are likely to have many skeptics. We are likely to have many people who simply wish not to believe what's right in front of their very eyes, those who wish not to believe that we are destined to succeed.
Or that even that you're prophets. I think even the word prophet brings in skepticism.
Everybody's seen Mother Earth with their own very eyes by now.
But now let me ask you, did she like come to you in a vision? Did she come to you in a dream? How did she manifest herself to you to put you on this mission, to spread this word through RadPro?
That is an excellent question. And I must tell you, I do not remember a time before the Mother Earth. As far as I know, and as far as any of those of us within the mycelium realm, the mycelium network know, myself, Blossom, the fern, you name it, the Mother Earth has always been. She's been there guiding us every step of the way throughout our lives, throughout our plant reinforced, plant nurtured lives, whether or not we've realized it. A vision or a dream here and there may have come to us at one time or another. Little did we realize that was the mother. Ambiguous, concrete. I cannot remember a time personally before the mother appearing to us in one fashion or another.
So similar to like my marriage, I can't remember a time before I was married. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and I mean, she flows to us all, Mother Earth, right? We were born into it. She's with us at all times. If you close your eyes, you can feel her, right? I'm big into nature, like I said. Today was a great day to go for just a walk, and when I go for a walk, I like to do many things. First thing I do is leave all the devices at home, get rid of all electronics, and just go out. No phone, no nothing, and just enjoy the peace and quiet of the outdoor without text coming in and people bothering. And that's when you really will hear Mother Nature talk, because you're not infiltrated by all these outdoor and even sometimes indoor sounds and noises that are coming at you.
I must say, I do not know what a text is, and I fail to see how a phone would be very useful to you outside of the home. But I do agree, electronic distractions are to be left behind if you are to indulge and attempt to reach Mother Nature the way she is constantly reaching out to you.
Well, it's become kind of big for folks to now kind of take that rotary phone. And it's expensive, might I add you, but to get it into the motor vehicle. So, you're going for these walks and you can take this phone, and it's big and honking, and it's huge, but you can get it outside of the home. And this is so people can get you on the go. If somebody, something's happening at home, they need to get you, or if you're in an emergency. But most of the time it's neither. It's just to say, what are you doing, honey? Where are you going? Where are you?
That is quite the concept.
It's totally mind-blowing, and I honestly hope it doesn't really catch on. Hopefully it's just another fad,
Who is to say?
Because it's very it doesn't serve its purpose, especially when, like I said, it's anti-nature. And you just keep remembering that it's always going to be anti-nature. But yeah, I like to just go out and enjoy nature by itself, without any distraction. Sometimes I smoke nature. I do that too. I consider that as part of Mother Nature. She's provided for us.
Yeah, I must say I do not necessarily indulge in that which alters the mind in a way we do not necessarily consider productive or true vision enhancing, but perhaps that is a topic for another day.
Well, yes, it is, because to each individual, to some it helps them get productive, to others it does not, and to each their own. But I have talked to many scholars and religious beliefs, and it's some of them it's medical practice, others it's like you just said, nothing mind altering. Not even like green tea, nothing. clean life.
Mm.
So, and that's something that I've actually studied throughout life is actually, different religions, and not so much like major religions, but like what kind of things like you preach, different smaller sects and different things of religions that were like more kind of almost niche or more in a growing progress rather than something already hugely established.
Mm.
And again, you guys speak a powerful message. I mean, I was moved by the match itself.
Mm.
I like, again, a lot of people weren't in the crowd necessarily rooting for you. Me being a fan of what's fair in the world and what I like is what I like, that didn't really bother me, you know. So I enjoyed the match for what it was, and you guys were victorious, which you're the more dominant team.
Yes, yes. It may not have occurred to many people, but that was actually a Leaf Montgomery's first time teaming alongside the newly converted Fern, only just becoming accustomed to his plant enhanced body after being converted. And B, the first victory as a team that the plant based prophets have experienced, despite clearly being a team of superior stature given our telekinetic and telepathic connections.
So when one becomes converted and one becomes part of this, it's almost like becoming part of a greater network. If you're a Star Trek fan, if you watch any of that Next Generation stuff that's on TV, you'll see something called the Borg. They have like a collective, and it almost sounds like that. Like everybody's kind of mind kind of flows into the next, and it's group decisions are made on this telepathic level. There's not really one true leader.
Mm. The sum is greater than its many parts, if that makes any sense at all. The mycelium, it's greater than merely the sum of its parts, to perhaps put it in different terms.
Well, yes, it has a greater purpose.
A greater purpose and a greater driving force behind it as well.
Now, this you said was the first time teaming with the Fern. Teaming with prior.
Prior, I found myself, Leaf has found himself teaming with the aforementioned Blossom Oak, who has found himself out of the public eye recently, if nothing else, because he has entrusted me to guide the Fern in becoming accustomed to his new plant enhanced body. The mother first appeared to decimate Ricardo Pescado, to leave him dead in the water, as it were. We were to encourage him to imbibe of the oat. And then I was to take him under my wing, under my branch, if you will, in order to push forward for the greater good of the collective, as you put it. And as luck would have it, we were, as mother would have it, we were victorious in our very first tag team outing, myself and the Fern.
And I think that's important. Not so much on a physical level, but on a mental level. It's the Fern's first match in his accustomed new body. He's, getting used to all that, and you guys pulled off, become a victorious. It gives a sense of, well, this was the right choice. I did the right thing. This is where I really should be. I'm winning. I am on that victorious path. If I was to lose, maybe, mother didn't want me on this path, but that wasn't the case. The gods were all pointing at you that day.
Yeah. Mother always has us on the right path. And with that said, I scarcely ever find myself in doubt that I, Leaf Montgomery, am doing the right thing. Like you say, on a physical level, on a mental level, metaphysical, meta emotional, emotional, on any level that counted in any capacity, we were on the same page. We were on the right path that day. And anytime we are not necessarily victorious in the way that we thought we wanted, we're always trending in a direction.
Now I have to be honest. I
Go.
heard this. I heard the C word floating around a little bit in the crowd. How do you deal with that when people mention that you guys might be a cult?
It's a big eye roller, to be honest. I do not feel that we are necessarily what could be considered a cult in any stretch of the imagination. But what is, first of all, anybody referring to us as a cult could probably not even define the word cult. We are a bona fide faith, as it were. I fail to even think of it as a faith, but rather we are a collective attempting to establish the way to be. This is the way.
It's almost like a movement.
With their, I'm sorry?
It's almost like a movement.
It certainly is a movement. It's a movement to follow in the footsteps of the power and the grace and the mercy and the compassion demonstrated by the Mother Earth, who once again, everybody by now has seen with their own very eyes make quick work of Ricardo Pescado, as we made quick work of Mortadella Matt and The Fantastic Voyage. Everybody has borne witness to this. I fail to see how that measures up to the likes of cults necessarily. We are the prophets. We do what we say.
Anything that people don't understand or it's kind of thrown off by, gets kind of thrown into that world is, oh, that's a cult, or, they're getting a following. It must be a cult. Why are people following? Well, no, people are coming to light. People are opening their eyes to seeing truths that weren't shown to them before. And that's the difference, and once you have this knowledge, it's very hard to get rid of it. They say, like, you know, ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it is, because when you have this knowledge, now you got to act with it, and you have to change. You're forced to change. You're forced to go in that path because there is no other way to go, because you know the truth.
Mm-hmm. I am inclined to believe that we have very little control over what we do, in fact, believe, but we have control over what evidence we are open to considering and just how far we are willing to go with that information, both of which can go on to shape and influence what we do believe. So do with that information what you will, anybody watching right now. But I mean,
I've talked to a few, like I said, religious leaders and others, and I always like to ask this question. What's your like definitions of like good and bad, good and evil?
Our definitions of evil include anybody who knowingly, willingly inflicts unnecessary suffering upon fellow sentient beings, not meant to promote the greater good of a collective such as the prophets or the mycelium at large, or for short-term satisfaction or even long-term satisfaction. Those who promote unnecessary suffering against any fellow sentient being, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly infinitesimal, no matter how intelligent or unintelligent, what have you. Our definition of good would include those who use occasionally justified force to right the wrongs of those aforementioned evildoers and to lead by example in demonstrating compassion, discipline, grace, mercy, just as Mother would have us do. We are none of us perfect necessarily. We're pretty close, but we are none of us perfect, the prophets necessarily. I would call us good in that sense.
And that brings a good point, though, of like, there is still flaw. Only Mother is perfect in totality. Whatever else still has some blemish, some flaw, as close as it is. But we haven't seen that really too much in Rad Pro Wrestling. We haven't seen the flaws at all, really, I don't think. Too much in Rad Pro
we've seen a lot of
we haven't seen the
dominance
flaws at
and
all,
dominating.
really,
And the last match was, like I said, very
we've seen a lot of dominance
and dominating. And the last match was,
it
like I
is,
said,
like
very
I said, a
dominant.
movement where people are going to start to lash on, and I think it's going to come to a point where
It is,
other
like I said,
wrestlers
a
in the
movement
locker
where
room
people
are going to start to lash on, and I think it's going to come to a point
two
where
things.
other
One,
wrestlers in the locker
we
room
want that
are gonna
blanket
look
of
and say,
protection
hey,
you
just talked about. When you say
two
evil,
things. One,
we want
when
that
something
blanket
bad
of
happens to
protection
one of
you
those
just
members,
talked about. When you
everybody's
say
gonna
evil,
swarm.
that's protection.
Well, when something bad
Especially
happens to
for,
one
like
of
you
those
said,
members,
even the
everybody's
littlest of
gonna
whatever,
swarm.
that's
And come
protection.
in, believe,
Especially for, like you
do
said, even the
better for the
littlest of
collective
whatever,
and be
and
protected
come in,
from other
believe
enemies
do
that
better
might
for the
be
collective
in
and be
Rad Pro.
protected.
But then you
from
also have
other
others that are going to actually see
enemies that might be
and
in
look
Rad
at
Pro.
your vision and
But then you
say,
also have
what?
others that are going to actually
I deep
see,
down believe this as well.
and look at your vision and say,
and now I have
someone
deep
to
down
share my
believe this
vision
as
too.
well. And they're going to join willingly and just say,
and
hey,
now
I
I
have
have someone to share my
and you're going to have
too.
that kind of
And they're
bunch
going to
too.
join willingly.
And of course, then you're going to
say,
have
hey,
people that's going to keep fighting this.
and you're going to have that
fighting
kind of
this.
bunch
And that's
too.
what then.
And of course, then you're going to
there's
have people
always
that's going to keep fighting this and
fighting
there's
this.
gonna
And
always
that's what
be
then
people
against.
there's always
the grain, so to say. There's
Mm.
going to always be
There's
people
always going to be people against the grain. There's always going to be those, like you say, who our faith genuinely resonates with. The grain. There's always going to be those, like you say, who are seeking genuinely resonates with. The more cynical among us, and there are always going to be those vassal contract with a higher power. Perhaps the more cynical among us could think of it like I like to think of it vassal contract with a higher power. But Mother provides for those who as genuinely seek her out. Mother and she provides for those who genuinely those of us who may not, and she provides for wants or think of ourselves as requiring her assistance. Know of or and when I say those of us, I mean humanity. Think of ourselves as requiring her assistance. And when I say those of us,
there's
I mean
others
humanity
that that are out there right
sentient
now
beings
that
at large.
just haven't made their way.
Because I'm sure there's others that
that are out there right now that just haven't made their way.
They could be somebody's neighbor. They could be,
they're out there, like you said,
but they're out there.
Mother,
they could be somebody's neighbor. They could be, they're out there.
and like you said,
A lot of people, mother's big,
and it takes time for
everybody
everybody to kind of migrate.
A lot of people,
spot, if that's even the final intent.
And it takes time for everybody to
kind of migrate to one spot.
If that's even the final
in different parts of the
final
world.
intent might be,
and you might be
that
particularly
here
in
different
parts of the world.
in the Northeast,
and
to
you might
spread
be
this
particularly
message,
here,
and
that's your destiny.
that's what you're
in the
here to
Northeast.
do.
And there's going to be others that are going to want to do
and
that.
then that's your destiny.
Like I
That's
said,
what you're here to do.
It's not,
and there's going to be others that are going to want to do that. I mean,
it's not like you're just making stuff up. Others have,
it's not
seen what you've seen. Others have heard what you've heard.
It's not like you're just making stuff.
There's been other testaments of,
seen what you've seen.
It's not like I said, you're just
making
this up to get,
There's been other testaments of Mother.
It's not like
I do intend to do whatever it is that the Mother tells me with my own ears. I do intend to do whatever it is that the Mother tells me. I'm well acquainted with the Mother with my own ears. Whatever she I'm well acquainted with the Mother, so more direct. Whatever she more indirectly directs us to do.
Now let me ask you,
directly,
you ever take
more
human
indirectly.
Form and, like, come down?
Now
let me
ask
you,
she's taken human form to
down
dismantle.
to
Ricardo Piscato. She's taken human form to dismantle Ricardo
So she
Piscato.
can transcend and kind of move through if so be.
So she
it.
can
transcend.
Oh, she could take
and
any
kind
shape
of
she
move
wishes.
through if so be it. True power there.
Oh,
true,
she could take any shape she wishes.
But it's for the good. It's it's true power. We're not
True
talking,
power.
demon worshiping here. We're talking, but it's for the good. It's good for human. We're not talking, demon worshiping here. It's a good way.
Not in the realm
good
of the
for
demonic or
humankind.
esoteric or arcane.
It's a
Something
good way.
children
Like I
in the
said,
realm
it
of the
sounds
demonic
like,
or
something
esoteric
to
or
better
arcane.
mankind.
And it sounds like
Get to that next level of ascension. Something to better mankind.
And all of
make
sentient
mankind
beings at that.
get to that next
All of
level
our fellow
ascension.
sentient beings. And all of
And
sentient
I
beings
think
at
that,
that. All of our fellow
it's a
sentient
good cause.
beings.
I can't knock. And I think that, but again, you were talking evil. It's a good cause. I can't knock that. Who do you see that's bad right
again,
now?
you were talking evil and bad, and what's
who do you
bad,
consider
and,
threats? Who would hurt? Who do you see that's bad right now in Rad Pro Wrestling? Who do you consider threats?
If we consider who's bad, and who I consider a threat, if we consider who's be bad, two different questions, and who I consider a threat, Mortadella Matt, those might is somebody be two who I would consider bad. Mortadella Matt, I consider, is somebody who I would consider pretty much bad, in a rear view mirror, to use a modern reference at this point. In our rear view mirror, to use a modern reference at this point. In our rear view mirror, because he flanked Ricardo Piscato on his way to be left head in the water by the one true mother, Ricardo Piscato, on his way to be left head in the water by human form, the one true mother, Earth, compete against Ricardo Piscato, in the interest of fairness, taken on human form. Once he was converted, compete against Ricardo Piscato. Once he was brought into the mycelium, took on the identity of the fern. Once he was brought into the mycelium, we've seen hide nor hair, took on the identity of so to speak of Mortadella Matt. We've seen hide nor hair after Dairy so Dan. There's another one who I would consider bad. Dairy Dan the Milkman. I think after also not Dairy Dan, there's another one who I would consider bad. Dairy Dan the Milkman, but also not a threat by the mother, as it were, by myself and Blossom, left to be reclaimed. We can only hope that by myself and Blossom will not be returning to Rad Pro Wrestling after this. We can only hope those are two people I would consider bad, but are not returning to Rad Pro Wrestling after this. Those are two people I would consider bad, but are not necessarily prior. Those who have prevailed over us in action because of the introduction have only necessarily done so because extraneous circumstances, the introduction of pepperoni in the case of Mortadella Matt, extraneous circumstances like in the case of pepperoni in the case of Mortadella Matt, erroneous felonious hackers in the case of those two. They used erroneous felonious hackers, which I certainly think counts as a foreign object. They tampered with pogo sticks, which I certainly think counts as a foreign object. That I think counts as space and time. I don't know. That I think counts as concept, a foreign stretch. I don't know. I'm not necessarily familiar with all these hardline scientific terms of never having attended formal school. I'm not necessarily familiar with all these hardline what it is I'm driving at. Never having attended formal school.
I do.
I'm sure you understand what it is I'm driving at.
Many different things that have taken place. No, I do. I see in the 80s and other eras and technologies colliding with faith. Everything's just becoming in the 80s and other eras and technologies colliding with faith. Everything's just becoming, if you want to put it that way. It really is. You got some crazy people out there. And what about that? If you want to put it that way, granny smoking Newports. You got some crazy Roberta. And what about that? You got the grizzled granny smoking Newports.
Yeah, I've not personally encountered Miss Roberta Gingersnap yet, or perhaps Mrs. I'm not sure if she's widowed or what her situation is yet, or perhaps Mrs. She's certainly not somebody widowed or what her situation is. For Blossom or the Fern, she's certainly not somebody would want to run into for Blossom in a dark Fern. Not that we couldn't handle even. Not that we couldn't want to run into in a dark alley. Not that we couldn't handle it. Not that we couldn't handle it.
But you think that better than someone that maybe needs saving by mother? Like mother could maybe transform her into something better.
I think we could all use saving by Mother Earth. But now that you mentioned Roberta specifically, I think we could all use saving by Mother Earth. I think now that you mentioned Roberta specifically, I think so. Take on a position of. I think she could perhaps wise old woman of sage take on a position as it were. Dispensing knowledge, woman of sage wisdom, as it were, the public that dispensing yearns for it, whether or not they realize it. That might be a good role for yearns for it, whether or not they realize it. Snap that's willing that to might be a good role for. I think that's quite a good point. A Roberta Ginger Snap that's willing to embrace mycelium. I think that's quite a good point.
You know, and that kind of brings a good point up that there's a spot for everybody. You can kind of, if you take your faults and get rid of them, put what you're good at. There's a spot for everybody. You can kind of better for the whole. Take your faults and get rid of them. And I think into it. That's a strong point. I think better for the whole want to join this. I think, and there is also a sense of are going to want to join this. I think there is also a sense of is Mother Earth and Mother Earth is very warm and because when you think of those words, Mother Earth and Mother Earth is very warm in some aspects. That when you think of those words, you think of like a baby being like cradled. Granted, she can be very some aspects that is demanding, but at the same point very nurturing. Granted, she can be very a lot of people demanding, but at the same point very nurturing. And
yes, mothers can be demanding.
Right now, is that
mothers can be stern. Yes, mothers can be demanding. At times, mothers can be seemingly callous, stern. Mothers can none be. None of us necessarily understand why seemingly callous, but none of us necessarily understand mothers, why as it were, are the way they are. Until earthly mothers, as it were, are the way they are. We can all think of we know better. One true Mother Earth. We can all think all of our mothers. She's essentially one true Mother Earth. Was essentially all of our mothers. She's essentially I tend to think of her in that light, mother as well, especially since I tend to think of her in that light, neat little as well, especially since ropes, as I just described, all tied up in a bow, began, and ropes, in fact, as I just described, all began, tied up in a bow, began. And if I were to think of the fact where that's how I would put it best.
And now let me add this because this is kind of interesting to me and thinking about it as we've been talking. You talked about, the newest member and the transformation. What's that process like? What is that, happening when somebody transforms into their, self? Like you said, you change.
Without giving away too many of the prophet's secrets, it involves a lot of oat milk, a lot of soil baths, a good deal of meditation, and a great deal of love, warmth, sunlight, water, nourishment in many forms in order to embrace that plant enhancement, as it were.
And with that plant enhancement, what do you get? What enhancement does it bring to
you? I suppose it's difficult to describe if you haven't felt it yourself necessarily. But as I've described myself, Blossom, the fern, and others are telepathically and telekinetically connected with the Mother Earth and one another. So to the extent where we sometimes feel each other's pains and we yearn for each other's desires and we cringe at the other's shame.
Are you able to turn that off at some point to kind of get quietness within, or is it always just chitter chatter?
There are times where we can avert our attention from it if we so choose. It is not always quite so easy.
So it takes a little adjustment, especially when new people kind of getting everybody's thoughts to say under control, let's say. Because if one person goes off the deep end and gets too angry, well, that might affect everyone now.
It's hard to
keep everybody kind of at bay.
I'm sorry?
You gotta kind of keep everybody like on a baseline at bay.
I suppose. But I suppose most importantly, we see how everybody adjusts at first before we really send them into the thick of things on the front line on a more permanent basis. Because, like I say, Blossom Oak is taking a step back right now in order to ensure that I may nurture and guide the Fern as Mother would have me do.
You really take them under your wing.
You're really enhancement under my branch, as I said earlier.
Yes, and really showing him and giving that what he needs right now to succeed in Rad Pro and succeed in life in the world, and that's a really important role. That's not for everybody. Not everybody can take somebody under their branch. Some people don't even have branches to do that. So that's a great sacrifice you've kind of done. You're putting yourself kind of secondary to take care of somebody else and get them where they need to be. But again, that's part of, I guess, the collective and making sure that, because if the Fern gets to a certain level, then that's better for everybody because now everybody's on that same level. So in the end, it works very well for the whole collection.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this kind of collective thought and process. It really intrigued me because everybody is like a balancing act, and it really does remind me of that Star Trek show I've been watching on TV, where they all kind of just work together in that mind link.
I can't say I've ever found myself in front of a television set, but I'll have to take your word for this Star Trek you speak of.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's more for the science folks, the more people that like to think a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. Some of the stuff's far out there and far fetched. Other stuff like I said, makes you wonder what could be out there. But again, we see what's right here too, and what right here is very beautiful and very cool thing. Now, Saturday, you're going to be in action. You know who your opponent is?
Yes, our opponents, myself and the Fern, they're going to be Alizar Daywalk and Lynx Panther. Now, Lynx Panther finds himself without a partner on this occasion for whatever reason. It's yet to be revealed. And Alizar Daywalk finds himself without a partner as well. These two, for whatever reason, have elected to join forces to see how they might fare against the Prophets. And frankly, I'm not sure what it is they're necessarily thinking, but myself and the Fern are already a more proven, I don't necessarily want to use the cynical term commodity, a proven commodity, but we are a genuine team, as I've established. We have a connection that, well, not an unfair advantage, certainly gives us greater bonding and greater wavelength, same pageness than just about any other team I could think of. I struggle to find where Alizar and Lynx may be coming from or where Rad Pro Wrestling Management may be coming from, because I tend to think of this as a surefire victory for the Prophets, even if Alizar and Lynx may be worthwhile singles adversaries or tag team adversaries in different contexts. To some extent, I can see how people would be curious to see how this will end up. I hate to spoil it, as the modern jargon goes. I feel as though victory in one capacity or another, as the mother would have it, is certain for the Prophets this Saturday, June 22nd.
And I can't wait. And like I said, I'm not really a fan of makeshift tag team when they throw people together. This is an interesting kind of situation because they are throwing two former tag people together. And like you said, they might have been adversaries at one point. There might be trust issues. There might be fighting amongst themselves. They get to overcome a lot of things that you and the Fern aren't going to even have to go near because you're already a solid team. You're already one unit. You're already under the same wings. And that's what, is going to make you guys really fly in Rad Pro, is that you guys are on the same level. And whoever they throw at you, I don't think nobody out there is going to have a deeper bond. Nobody. There's nobody that they Rad Pro Management can throw at you that will have a deeper bond with each other or with, like you said, Mother Earth. So Who can beat you? Really, honestly, nobody.
That is a question that I struggle to answer myself.
I have to say you're pretty all powerful in Rad Pro. And I will be interested, and I will be there in attendance to watch this tag match unfold and see what happens. Because like I said, I do like tag team wrestling. Always been a fan. But I think your call of victory for the plant-based profits is pretty correct. And granted, I'm no prophet and scholar, and I don't know anything. But if I was just to look at stats and, like I said, numbers, and again the fact that you guys can, he can be in the middle of the ring and you can be in the corner and you guys can be talking to each other. I mean, right then and there.
And nobody else can
do that, and that's one of the greatest assets that the team could ever have. And so it just brings you above one of the greatest assets that the team could ever have. I got one final question for you, and I do thank you for taking the time to come on.
It really does.
I got one final question for you, and I do thank you for taking the time. I don't know if you've heard or seen, but and make this a new thing out there called the internet. And I don't know if you've heard AOL and stuff. A few others. You happen to have like an email or something that people can look you up? AOL and stuff. Look for you. You happen to have like an email or something that people can look you up? Or
Leaf Montgomery is coming to you via the Mycelium Network. Leaf Montgomery is coming to you. I am not familiar with the Mycelium Network. This encounter was presented to me by the mother via. This encounter was the Mycelium presented to me by channels. The mother via. I am unfamiliar with these channels you speak of, unfortunately.
It's something kind of like I said, New on the Horizon.
Media you speak of, unfortunately.
It's something kind of like I said, New on the Horizon. Other parts of the world. It's interesting. The home phone. Some business you can put their name out there. Parts of the world. It's interesting, but some business have been putting their name out there. I don't know if they'll really yellow pages, but. I've been asking some again. It's some of them. I don't know if they'll really take off. Even gave out their I've been asking numbers on their flashy some of them $1,000 phones. It's wild. Even gave out their private numbers on. Why would you want to be $1,000 phones? It's wild. You're doing whatever. Why would you do that? Why would you want to be privacy being out? But you're doing whatever you're doing. We'll be seeing you Saturday. I really honestly can't wait. And for those that aren't going to be there, thank you. And we will be seeing you Saturday. I really honestly can't wait. And for those that aren't going to be there, and they can come back to the 90s on a special channel called do that if you're not going to come back to the 90s. But thank you again for coming on and spreading the word of Mother. And thank you again for coming on and spreading the word of Mother. And
it is the least I can do at the behest of the one true Mother Earth. Once again, this is Leaf Montgomery representing the plant-based prophets. Once again, this is Leaf Montgomery representing ferocious plant-based prophets and the one true ever-blossoming Blossomo, the mycelium ferocious fearsome fern, and the one true have a wonderful day. Earth, the mycelium Pro Wrestling on Saturday, June 22nd. Catch us live at Pro Wrestling at the Lafayette Saturday in Amesbury, June 22nd, or on this live and in person at the Lafayette Club in Amesbury, Mass. Medium you speak of IWT. Futuristic.
Thank you, everybody
medium you speak
at home,
of.
and as always, support indie wrestling. Thank you, everybody at home, and as always,
support the profits.
Support indie wrestling. Versace Stoner out.
And support the profits. The profits. 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 Profits.
Yeah. Whispers of the night sky, stars that never lie, shining bright so high, dreaming as they fly.